StableTuner is a tool made to help people train stable diffusion models. Just before starting, I'm sorry for my English. I'm not a native English speaker, so hopefully everything will come through. If not, please ask me on the Discord. I can elaborate further. Yeah, so StableTuner you can download it from the GitHub here. This is the address. And after you install it, you will be greeted with this UI. So StableTuner is a suite of tools, and it has various settings, and I will try to go over some of them in this video. I'm going to be demonstrating how I'm training a small data set, about 80 pictures, one which was shared on our Discord, and I will be showing you how I caption the data set using Caption body, and how I set up some of the options and what they do. So under general settings, we can input the model here. If it's a diffuser model, we will select the JSON, the model index JSON inside the diffusers model folder. If it's a checkpoint file, CKPT, you can just select it as well, and it will get converted automatically to to the diffuser's format. If I don't have diffuser model down and I just want to get something quick, I can just select one from here. This will apply the repo address from Hugging Face, and it will get downloaded as soon as I train. So for this instance, I'm going to be using the Stable Diffusion latest 2.1 base, and here I can specify a VAE, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right or wrong, so I'll just call it VAE for now. VAE are an optional part of the model you can load in order to influence the training itself. It's completely optional. I'm not going to be using it this time, so that means that I'm going to be using the VAE that comes with Stable Diffusion 2.1. I can set an output path. I can set it to convert to checkpoint after training, and I can also set to use the Telegram updates. Telegram updates are a great way to monitor how your model is doing, and it integrates with other options that I'll demonstrate shortly and show you at the end of how I monitor the progress of my training and to see if I need to change some stuff around before committing to something bigger, or even just if you're in the middle of a big fine-tune, a great way to see on the go and remotely and whatever. Out here we have also some options. So right now LoRa is disabled because it's not currently supported, although it's planned to be. You can select Dream Booth or Fine Tune. This will just disable some options in the UI that correspond to these choices. Dream Booth and Fine Tune are two different concepts of how to change a model. If you're not sure about exactly what the difference are, you can come to the Discord, and we have a fact page where you can read about it. Generally, I'm going to be fine-tuning now, so I'll just select fine-tune. But you don't even need to select any of these if you know what you're doing. So onto the training settings, I can see here that I have a seed, and I also have a resolution setting. I'm going to be using 512 for now, and I can set a batch size. Batch size are an important tool to get better quality and speed out of your training, and it depends completely on the amount of VRAM that you have available for you. I'm using a 4090, which is comparable to a 3090, obviously, and I'm going to be using 38 for this given resolution, although I can probably do 40. Under here we have the epochs, and epoch is how many times the dataset has been learned, the complete dataset. So one epoch, it means that the trainer saw one image, each image in the dataset once. We can set a mixed precision. This is to lower VRAM, and I'm going to be setting it to 16. I suggest you doing the same. These options are also great tools to reduce some VRAM usage. Some people say they can lower quality of the models. I didn't experience that, but you can experiment for yourself. The learning rate is obviously the learning rate you want to set for the model. For my data set and the amount of epochs, I set it to this amount right now, and I'm going to keep it for now. The learning rate scheduler should be kept to constant. Warm-up steps are 0 for me. And using latent cache, using latent cache allows you to cache the latents before training takes place. This is to reduce VRAM usage and spiking during training, and also to improve speed. This is pretty much mandatory if you're doing high batch sizes that normally wouldn't fit. Regenerate latent cache, so you can force to regenerate it. Generally, the tool will detect if you change something that requires regenerating, and it will tell you it's going to regenerate anyway. But you can also force it here if you want. You can train the text encoder, and you can limit how much the text encoder gets trained during this training run. So in this instance, I'm using 30%. I can also set it to 50 without the percent sign, and it will stop at epoch number 50. I'm going to set it though for 30%. Disable couldn't benchmark is another performance option. This is currently in testing. It's experimental. And with prior loss preservation, these are Dreambooth options, and since I selected the fine-tunes, they are grayed out. Under dataset settings, we have some options regarding the datasets and how they're going to be handled by the trainer. So I want to be using text files as captions, and I'm also be setting the image names as captions. Generally, if both are set to true, it will prefer the text files. So there's no real reason not to keep them both if you're using this sort of training method, which is fine-tuning. I'm going to be setting them like this for now. Auto-balanced dataset means that it will use the dataset with the lowest amount of pictures as the baseline for the rest. So if you're training a few datasets at once, a few concepts as they're called here, you can turn this off, and then you can make sure that one subject won't get under-trained when opposed to the rest. I can add class images to the dataset. This is unlike Dreambooth where there's also prior loss happening. I can just generate them and add them as more data to be learned and reinforced into the model. Setting the number, this is per concept. Dataset repeats is how many repeats of the dataset you want. If I have 10 pictures and I want it to be repeated 10 times, just repeat it 10 and I'll get 100 pictures loaded into this training session. This is useful because there's also some other procedures that takes place when you're actually generating latents and generating the images for the trainer, and these will get multiplied by the repeats. And you can use aspect ratio bucketing, which allows you to use any images without cropping and setting them to a certain size, and it will sort the different images into different resolution buckets and give them to the trainer. You might see images dropping due to this option, because if a bucket can't be processed by the batch size completely, it will drop a few pictures. It's just the reality of this option. Under sampling settings, we have some settings for our sampling during training. So I can sample every 50 steps, or X steps. I can save a checkpoint and sample every number of epochs. I'm going to set it to 25. How many samples I want to generate, the resolution I want them in, if I want to generate at the training start, which is useful to see how the model started. If I want to check how the aspect ratio bucketing is doing, I can do sampling, random aspect ratios, and I can add a sample prompt. In this case, I'm going to be doing a woman by SodaStream. SodaStream is the name of the concept, and this prompt will be used to generate our samplers during training. A control seed is also an option to add a sample with the same seed for our training, so you will see it progressing as you go forward in training. Both of these tools are great to gauge how the model is doing and see if it's being overtrained, if it's not being trained enough, vice versa. Under the data settings is where we provide the concepts that we want to learn and their path to the images. In this instance, I already set up one, and I'm going to remove it now, add a new one. You can see that I have a dataset token /name. Because I'm using the caption text files for my captions, the token won't be used. If I was doing Dreambooth, this is basically where you would say like SKS or your token name. I'm going to be calling it demo for now, just for UI purposes, and I will select the folder. Under here you have like classic options like class name, class path. Class name is the what gets used to generate class images. So if you're using that, you want to fill this out. If you have already a path of class images, you can set it here as well. You can select to ignore the balancing on this dataset, and you can also select to add any subdirectories that are found inside this path, add the pictures as well. Gonna hit save for now, and we have a model playground. This is great later when we finish training. We can actually go ahead and test the model quickly without having to convert it and going into a web UI and whatever. And finally, the toolbox, just a small collection of tools that are being added from time to time. You can see that some model tools are here. Convert diffuser to checkpoint, convert checkpoint to diffusers, and you can also clone datasets directly from Hugging Face using this small tool here. So let's get the dataset ready right now, and we'll do that using Caption Body. So pressing here, we'll load Caption Body. Caption Body is an image browser essentially that is also powered by Blip. I will load a folder where we have our pictures that we want to use, and as soon as I load it, you can see that the image loaded and this area turned to red. This is a suggested caption by Blip. This is not saved yet. I can go and edit it, change it how I'd like, hit enter, and it will save out. I can also use replace with, so if I want to replace the drawing with a painting, I can just provide it here and they will get replaced when I save the caption. Can add to start and add to end. In my instance, I want to add to end by SodaStream because I'd like to reinforce this is also a style that I'm trying to achieve. So I'm going to do, essentially you should be doing this, going through each image and checking that the captions are good and everything, but because of time I'm just going to be doing a batch folder. I'm going to batch the current folder, save the output, and it will start processing the entire images. I already did this, so I'm going to be canceling it for now, as I already have the pictures, but once it's done, I'm going back to StableTuner, and I can just see it start training, and I'll see you in like 10 minutes when it's done. Cheers. StableTuner again will load, and it will auto-populate this line with the latest checkpoint that we had created during training. So let's see how our model looks. So I'm gonna use this prompt to check it. I'm not going to be giving any negative prompts for now. Just hit enter and start getting images. So we can actually just use the arrow key to generate more images. This is for convenience to quickly gauge how the model is doing. If I want to edit it, yeah, and I can test how the model is doing. I can test how everything is working quickly. I can also just pick one of the other checkpoints that got saved to see how different is it. And let's go over also the Telegram. So I mentioned that there's Telegram monitoring, and this is a great tool. Essentially, especially if you use something like large data sets and you're training for a long time and you want to see how everything is doing. So as soon as I started training, I got these messages, and you can see that I got all my settings. This is just so we can keep track of what our training session is. And this is because we selected to sample at the start. This is basically the model without any training, and this image is our controlled seed, so you can see it, you will see it progressing through training. So this is the zero epoch, nothing has been learned. This is zero epoch, but after one pass. So at this point, basically, each image in our dataset has been seen once by the trainer. And you can already see that the control seed, how it changed from here to here. And it goes on. So I selected training, say, sampling every 50 steps. So I also got every 50 steps a sample. And I can already see how my prompt is doing. It's obviously training the style that we gave it. Yeah, and this is a great way to see if I'm starting to overfit. A great strategy would be also to give more prompts that aren't directly connected to the dataset. So because we have a lot of women in this dataset, something maybe like, I don't know, a theme park by SodaStream to see how the style is being transferred to other subjects. And then you can actually monitor if it's starting to overfit when you start seeing, repeated characters and stuff like that. Yeah, and once it's finished, it will just tell you that. So I hope this run through has been somewhat helpful. Again, you please join the Discord and hang out, ask questions. We're all experimenting, having fun, and I hope to see I'll help to see people's results from this, and hopefully make it a bit easier for people to make their own models. So cheers.